Prophecy is coming alive. And one of the people who has helped to bring it to life in a way that has reached literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, is film and book producer Brent Miller. Brent, thanks for coming to Prophecy Watchers.
And Gary, it's always a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me again.
It's been some time now since this particular DVD came out called The Final Prophecies. I remember it well, and the reaction to it has been phenomenal. Tell us about it in brief terms.
Ingenuity Films is a company that is designed and created in order to preach and to share the Word of God in the most easily understood manner possible. Video today, to the younger generation. Ingenuity Films was created by my son, and prophecy is the means by which we are introducing the Bible and Scripture to the secular world. In fact, The Final Prophecies, as you mentioned, is an older product. It was 6 years old. And 3 years ago, we decided to just give it away for free, worldwide. Only because it is so instrumental in bringing people to Christ and to opening their eyes. It was on the Amazon #1 documentary section for 6 months in a row, beating out every single Hollywood movie. Now, that is a phenomenal statement for a Christian product, but this is a Christian product.
Now, many who are watching us right now have probably seen The Final Prophecies. In case you haven't, let's run a brief trailer to show you what this thing is all about and give you a bit of a flavor of the production.
Look at the world around you. Do you see a world trapped in conflict? Economies in turmoil, hardship and suffering. Do you see a world crying out for help? There are millions of people that believe these are signs that we are living in the final days. It is believed that our future is preordained and destined to suffer the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, plagued with war, poverty, and cataclysm that will reach every corner of the earth. But is it true? Join host Ronnie Cohen in the Middle East as you embark on an epic journey to explore the origin of prophecy in the land of Israel. Go beyond the war on terror by understanding how ancient prophecy has shaped the religious conflict that is rapidly reaching every nation on earth. A conflict that will plunge our world into ruin.
Archaeologists uncover ancient records that foretell of a final global war involving Israel. Experts believe that current Middle Eastern conflicts could escalate to such a scenario.
Are we already on the path to prophetic fulfillment?
If these prophecies are true, there'll be radical changes, much more radical than the world has ever experienced before.
Does ancient evidence reveal warnings from a higher power?
When you look at the way these prophecies come together, one on top of the other, you have only two alternatives. It's either to embrace the fact that they claim they are from God, or that I can't believe that and I have to believe in absolutely improbable odds.
How much time could we have left?
It would be a time of devastation like the world has never seen before. Earthquakes and famines and wars. We see these things beginning to take place.
Understand why millions believe the final prophecies have already begun.
Well, As you can see, this is a first-class production. In fact, Ingenuity Films strives for only the best, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we do. Brent organizes the creation of these products. He actually creates the entire framework. He has a team of scholars, which I am instrumental in being a co-producer on a number of Ingenuity Films products, but not all of them. And this particular product was the very first one. We actually had to travel to Jordan, to the Red Sea, to Israel, to Turkey, to actually go in and film all of these sites. So this is not just a normal documentary. When there is something to be seen, to open your eyes, to show you the Word of God is alive and true, we actually take you there and show you what the Bible is saying.
And Ingenuity Films has, I think, kind of a mission. It's the same mission that we have here at Prophecy Watchers, namely to reach the unsaved through the teaching of Bible prophecy. We've discovered years ago that if you just lay out Bible prophecy to someone who really has no familiarity with the Bible at all, suddenly that individual becomes interested. Wow, are you telling me that the Bible really says that? Well, when you put it in film form with a little drama, people who have not considered giving their life to Christ suddenly begin to think in those terms, and that's a remarkable thing.
We have found that the Final Prophecies and its successor, the Coming Convergence, are incredible evangelical tools. And the reason is from the very beginning, the Final Prophecies. Christians will read that title one way, a secular person will read it another way. Is it Nostradamus? Is it Mayan calendar? They will pick it up and look at it. And when they put it in their DVD player and start to watch it, we don't immediately throw the Bible at them. We talk about ancient scrolls and ancient prophecies. And we talk about this was prophesied and this is the effect. And, you know, they actually agree step by step. We actually lay a foundation literally over thousands of years. Agreeing, so they're in agreement. This is a secular person in agreement until we finally start merging these ancient scrolls are scriptural, and they're from the Jews. And then they're a little leery, but they agreed so far, they continue watching it. And then all of a sudden, we switch the tone. We show them the world today. The same source of information showed what prophecies are coming to pass in the near future and what foundation needs to be laid, and we show them based on current news, this foundation is being laid right now. And that's where it starts to open up their eyes and they understand, wait a second, it's happening around us now, and even today is being prophesied, which is what Prophecy Watchers is all about. Sure. Looking at the events of the day and how it relates to the scriptures and how the scriptures are unfolding into these prophesied events.
And our viewers, and I'm speaking to you right now, might be thinking about that cousin or brother-in-law or that aunt or uncle or somebody in your family, and you've been trying to reach them with a word for years, and you might try this for a change. Just show them the Final Prophecies, dramatic, accurate, quoting the Bible, showing what might be happening in the near future. You know, Brent, I don't have to tell you this, but we're living in a chaotic world right now. Everything is changing very, very rapidly. You and I both believe that we are in the key moments at the end of an age right now. And
I truly feel that also.
Yeah. And having said that, let's talk about another production subsequent to the Final Prophecies, the Coming Convergence. Now, before we tell you about this, let's just look at another trailer. Usually we don't do this, but both trailers are so good. I think we want to share them with you, the Coming Convergence.
They say we were made in God's image. I believe it. Our achievements surpass imagination. Our creations marveled. But our hearts are not pure. So, in the pursuit of greatness, we built our empires upon death and suffering. But the world we shaped could never last. In the end, we brought wrath upon ourselves to cleanse the corruption. And I was there. And the skies opened, and fire rained down from the heavens. I witnessed a new leader rise from the ashes, promising peace. But only death came. Now, as the world wages war, I hide, as the innocent are slaughtered. But there were those that knew these days were coming, speaking of prophecies and signs.
We will be moving toward a one-world government.
Maybe that's why I'm still here, to warn you how the world really ends.
Well, I think you can see that there is a quality production. In fact, the production standards of the coming Convergence have been award-winning. Tell us about that.
Thank you. And in fact, as of now, we have more than 25 separate awards that have been provided the coming Convergence. We also hit #1 in Amazon on the documentary category, again, the target being the secular world. But the coming Convergence continues and takes over where the final prophecies left off. The final prophecies brings a person to a point of understanding that there is prophecy. Prophecy is real. Prophecy is so statistically proven that unless you are willing to put your head in the sand and ignore prophecy, any honest person would have to realize there is something to it. And once we get the person to that point in the final prophecies and show them that the foundation is being laid for the fulfillment of the future prophecies, but we don't go into details of the future prophecies, that's where we leave them with a choice. The coming Convergence is brand new. It just came out in the last few months, and we have actually distributed more. There's more of a cry for the coming Convergence than all 6 prior years of the final prophecies, only in the first 3 months. We are distributing it worldwide, and it is opening up the hearts and souls of literally hundreds of thousands of otherwise people who would never have been reached through prophecy. Churches are actually showing it to their congregations because pastors don't want to touch the subject of prophecy. I don't know why that is. I honestly don't. But for years, most pastors ignore the concept of prophecy, but this is a good introduction. We go beyond the final prophecies. We actually show them the events of the future and how the Bible says these events will unfold all the way through the Antichrist and Armageddon.
Well, you know, to comment on your question about why in the world isn't prophecy taught in churches, I think one of the reasons is because pastors are saddled, if you will, with the burden of keeping an organization moving in the same direction. That is to say, their goal is stability within the local church, and making sure that everybody is happy and satisfied and getting along. And the teachings usually run to the social direction. Let's see how Jesus would have us live as men and women in Christ, and how we can stabilize society. And I think the church is focused on that rather than what might be coming in a month or 2 or 3 or 3 years or 10 years. The church is a now kind of place. We here at Prophecy Watchers are a then kind of place. We're looking ahead as you are. And you know, Brent, there's something happening right now that I've never seen in my whole life, and that is there's genuine anger out there. If you say you're a Christian, people are mad at you. Yeah. They hate it. What are you doing? I mean, Christianity is an abomination. Get it out of here. I've never seen that before, but it's becoming more the norm people are angry at the thought of being led to Christ.
Yeah, I know that we're going to see more and more of that exact same sentiment in the future. The world will eventually turn when the Antichrist takes power. They will turn against the true Christians. In fact, his mark will require that you basically serve him as Lord. Otherwise, you won't be admitted into a financial system that will allow you to buy and sell unless you do that. So we do see that happening and the trend happening. The stage is being set up to hate Christians. So Christianity is changing. And this makes that clear as well. The apostasy, the falling away is happening. Churches are leaving the strict doctrines of the Bible in order to, as you said, I'll paraphrase slightly if I can give in a little leeway, to make it more of a social interaction. The Barna Research Group already shows us that well over 75% of Christians who are self-professing Christians, who say they are Christians, do not follow Christ, do not follow teachings, and believe that all they have to do is be, quote, a good person. A good person defined as whatever they want it to mean. And that is good enough. But we do know that the coming convergence shows that the future has about 500 prophecies that will be fulfilled. It's debatable how many hairs you want to split, maybe anywhere between 2,000 and 2,500 prophecies in the Bible. Over 2,000 have come to pass in the exact same detail that they were stated. There's 500 left. Now, of these 500, right at the very beginning of Revelations, when it starts to talk about these, it talks about them scattered in other different minor prophets and in Matthew as well. But in Revelations, right when it starts to talk about them, it says that, in essence, if you look at the original Greek, these 500 prophecies have an appointed time, just like Christ came to earth as at an appointed time. Not before, not after. He came when he was supposed to. These final prophecies will occur, the book of Revelations will occur at the appointed time. And when they occur, they will occur in rapid succession. And so we're seeing the foundations laid right now so that when these occur, and the coming convergence clearly lays out the very detailed foundations that are happening right now, that when they occur, they will happen so fast that the unsuspecting world will be caught, as the scriptures say, as a thief in the dark. However, Christians won't be caught unawares because they are looking. They are knowing in advance what is going to happen. And that's why I think it's so dangerous for churches to remove prophecy from the pulpit, because I don't know how you can talk about the scriptures and not talk about prophecy when it is so interwoven.
And, this would be a great DVD, Blu-ray to show at your local assembly, on a Wednesday night meeting, or who knows when you might get together. Be a great thing to show to your congregation, because they need to know. As you were talking, I was looking at a scripture that just keeps rolling through my head. When we get to this kind of subject matter, I always go to 2 Timothy 3, where Paul writes to Timothy and he says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient." The list goes on. You've read this many times.
Yeah.
And don't you see that today?
I believe we are at the end. I see 40 different characteristics of the last generation, and I do believe this generation, this new generation that's here on earth, they meet all 40 characteristics. They meet those characteristics and many more for the society that's unfolding before us. I can't see society progressing much beyond this. We know that all the prophecies will be fulfilled, and this is why it is so critical that we pay attention to prophecy. We know that all prophecy will be fulfilled within the generation that sees that Israel becomes a nation. Israel became a nation in 1948. We don't need to debate as to how long a generation is. Is it 80 years, up to 120 years? We don't need to debate that because we're already nearing the tail end of that generation. So we know that within the next, 2-3 decades at the
Right.
very latest, we will see these prophecies come to pass. And that is what is scaring us, and that is what is driving us.
As you and I sit here talking, we're just a few months away from Israel's 70th anniversary as a nation. That's 70 years, and the Bible says a lot about the number 70. Now, could something happen, momentous, happen in the Middle East during that celebration? Who knows?
Yeah.
But these are the days in which we live.
Right.
And again, I just want to hold up this cover, The Coming Convergence. Let's talk more about the word convergence here, the idea of convergence.
Oh, the title was chosen from the words of Christ himself. When the disciples asked, and the scribes and the Pharisees were there as well, when they asked Christ, well, when will these things be? Christ's answer was, when you see this, and this, and this, and this. In other words, it's not one particular thing, because there's always been wars, there's always been pestilence, there's always been famine, there's always been inflation. But when you see the convergence, when you see all these things coming together, that will be the sign of my coming. We're seeing that today. And that is why the coming convergence, the foundation is being laid. When they converge, this will be the time that Christ talks about. When you see these signs, look up, for your salvation draws nigh.
And here in Oklahoma, and I've lived here for a long time, and we never used to see earthquakes. And within the last few years, suddenly we're seeing literally hundreds of small to medium-sized earthquakes. And I can't help but think that was on Jesus' list of the coming convergence.
It was, in fact. One of the issues with earthquakes is that the geological survey will say that there's no increase in earthquakes. So what we did as part of this project, through Ingenuity Films' direction, we downloaded the entire database of earthquakes for the last 100 years. Millions and millions of data points. And we analyzed every one, grafted them out in every possible format, and we see that there is an increase in earthquakes, and there's an increase of larger earthquakes, and an increase in the frequency of larger earthquakes. Graphed them out, charted them out. I believe on previous shows you have actually shown that chart.
Yep, I think we did once, yeah.
And so the earth is going through many quakes. In fact, oddly enough, when I was in the hotel room last night, an app on my phone bings showing that within 100 miles of here, there was a 4.5. A small one, but like you said, Oklahoma is starting to get more and more quakes. And we're starting to see earthquakes in diverse places. This is what the scripture said, not that we're just seeing earthquakes, but that they would be everywhere. And we're seeing them in major cities, we're seeing them in every continent on the planet now. If you look at the graph of the earthquakes, you see that there is a tremendous increase in frequency and in intensity that is happening, described as birth pangs, for example.
Yeah, well, and we're talking about Matthew 24 here, specifically with reference to Israel, and the fact we spoke about we're nearing the 70th anniversary of Israel as a state, but we're also seeing a huge buildup of military weaponry of all kinds, rockets, tanks, jet aircraft with missiles, et cetera, all around Israel. And combined with the fact that there's great instability. We have a sort of a mad dictator in Turkey right now, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, that name always escapes me, who is constantly threatening to join the fray. He wants to see war in the Middle East, and he's not the only one. So we're living in those times.
I do believe you're correct. We are seeing a buildup in the Middle East, and we are seeing one of the initial stages of the final sequence of the last 500 prophecies, that being some sort of limited battle, limited war, in which the Antichrist, who we will know to be the Antichrist, will step in and create a treaty, who will confirm the treaty so that Israel will be able to rebuild the temple. This is what we're looking for. And this will be a very, very prophetic event that will happen in the future.
The Antichrist generation. You know, I think the part of the Antichrist's unveiling that we don't talk about very much is the fact that he's going to be received. There will be the people of the earth will receive him as, wow, good news. This is our man. And we're seeing the generation of people who are so perverse that I think they will accept this madman.
Yeah.
And again, Brent Miller, I think, is doing a lot of shall we say, waking up the church. The coming Convergence, of course, about 5 to 6 years ago, the final prophecies came out. We're still carrying this, and by the way, it's still being ordered. And what we'd like to do, if you haven't yet obtained for yourself the coming Convergence and the final prophecies, we're putting them together in a package called the Prophetic Evangelism Package. You can look for that title, the Prophetic Evangelism Package, in our online bookstore, prophecywatchers.com. Click the online bookstore, look for the Prophetic Evangelism Package, the coming Convergence DVD, the final prophecies. And, by the way, we're going to add, speaking of waking up the church, Jeff Kinley's book goes right along with this subject. It's called Wake the Bride. Jeff Kinley is a great preacher and a great writer, one of those writers who just carries you along with his narrative skills. And we're putting the three of these together. We're calling it the Prophetic Evangelism Package, yours for a gift of $50, free shipping in the United States. And that'll be on our website anytime you want to dial down and just go to the online bookstore, look for the Prophetic Evangelism Package. I guarantee you'll have a lot of good information to give to your friends and neighbors, particularly those who need to hear the message of prophecy that will lead them to receiving Christ. And you're doing a great work. I have to ask you, what's next? Now, I don't want you to give up any secrets, but I'm sure you've got something in the works.
Ingenuity Films always has things in the works. We have half a dozen projects we are working with right now. I cannot divulge what we're actually making, but in the summer of 2018, we will have an amazing project which involves a Hollywood backlot.
And by the way, put Brent Miller Sr. and Brent Miller Jr. on your prayer list and pray that everything will go just right as they produce this next, what I think is going to be a wonderful production.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate it.
I'm Gary Stearman. You keep watching. We are. Thanks for joining us on Prophecy Watchers. You can find us on the web at prophecywatchers.com, where you can sign up for our free email newsletter. In the meantime, keep watching, everybody, and we'll see you soon.